Okay, while we're finally getting settled down here, a few stragglers coming in, I just want to say good evening, everyone. I'm Jim DeArmond, Chairman of the Maine Republican Party, and I would like to welcome everyone to tonight's Republicans Governors Forum. And I want to thank you all for taking the time to attend this important event. I really appreciate it, and it means a lot to us to have a great turnout. As you will shortly see, we are blessed to have so many accomplished individuals who have stepped up to run for governor of the great state of Maine. Please be respectful of the time allotments given to the candidates and hold your applause to a minimum, even for me. Thanks for laughing. Tonight we want to hear from you, from them, and we want to give them as much time as possible to answer as many questions as time permits. So I would like to introduce I'm going to go with Kristen. I'm going to introduce Jason Savage, our Executive Director, who will proceed with the rules tonight.
Not going to go through every detail of every rule that the candidates have been told about, but the broad overview here is the candidates will have 2-minute introduction, 1-minute response, 2-minute closing remarks. They will be allowed a 1-minute response if their name is mentioned by another candidate. Rules for the room and in the crowd, we, like the chairman said, we're asking people to control that applause so that applause doesn't become something that takes away questions at the end. We do have a pretty heavy list of questions we're going to try to work through. I will ask that anybody who is standing in the back of the room to find a seat, do not stand in the back of the room and talk and make a bunch of noise and be disrespectful to the people who paid to be here. This is a plague among political operatives. You are not more important than the people in their seats. If you talk and interrupt or interfere, we will ask you to leave. With that, I'm just going to ask the chairman to take our seats and we will get started.
I'd like to ask the members of the State Committee to rise and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Christina Parker, the Communications Director for the Maine Republican Party, will perform the invocation.
If you all bow your heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today and that everyone was able to arrive safely. I pray safety over this event and that everything we do will be good and glorifying, and that people will be able to say what they think and be able to communicate their ideals, and that everything will run smoothly. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Christina. Now we will take our seats and begin.
Yeah.
I'd like to start with opening statements. Tonight we're going to go left to right on opening statements and right to left on the closing remarks. So, Mr. Charles, you're first.
And I'll try to stay at 2. Good evening. I'm Bobby Charles, and first let me say we have an incredible field here running for governor. And of course, the best thing we all have going for us is the Democrats, who continue to devastate our state, making it unaffordable, unsafe, and revoltingly woke. I am running to reverse that, to cut crime, cut taxes, and end the nonsense. My life is blessed. I'm the father of 2 great kids. I grew up in the woods over in Wayne, was raised by a school teacher, began working at 12, saved my money, worked through college, then worked to serve my country. I did that for 10 years in uniform, Navy intelligence, Reagan White House, top federal investigator, Assistant Secretary of State, where I ran a $2 billion operation bringing down drug traffickers, trained the Iraqi and Afghan police, and ran the largest armed air wing outside the Pentagon. Eventually, I started a company dedicated to national security and law enforcement, ran it for 25 years. I understand what it's like to make payroll and to borrow against your house to do that. But the state I came back to is not the one I left. Maine is in peril. As governor, I will rid this state of corruption and all the ugliness that Janet Mills has created. Great minds say we can cut $4 billion out of the budget. I will eliminate the income tax. I will roll back the property taxes, ramp up homestead exemptions for seniors and young Mainers, and I will cut energy costs by at least 30%. As the only crime fighter up here, I will wire brush the illegals, organized crime, drug traffickers, and Chinese grow houses out of this state. And I will work with Trump's ICE and DEA to make sure it's done. I will lift our vets, rescue our kids from indoctrination, and restore real education. I will get the trades back into high schools and create a path to prosperity. A few last things. First, I will work hard to elect a GOP legislature. I think we can do that. I will replace the 7 liberals who sit on Maine's Supreme Court. And now let's make some news. I will call for a special federal prosecutor to investigate the corruption around Janet Mills. My promise is this: I will work tirelessly to get our state back on track. I will cut crime, cut taxes, no nonsense. Thank you.
A company called Crunch Fitness Franchising as the chief executive officer and founding partner, and over 15 years built that to the #1 fitness company in the country, if not the world. We had 500 locations, 3 million members, over $1 billion in revenue, and I created 15,000 jobs building that company. So I know how to figure it out, how to create structure and momentum and a very positive culture, which hasn't been happening in this state for a very long time, which was the reason I decided to run for governor. And also seeing the decline as rapidly as you all have in this state, which has really got me to the point that you've got to do your best to get this fixed, as we all do. Thank you.
Good evening.
Ken Capron.
Ken Capron, he's here. I was born in Eastport, and I've been a Mainer ever since. And I'm proud to say that I am a resourceful Mainer, somebody who can make do with what you got, or do more with less. And that's pretty true across the state. I've seen a lot of blue tarps on our roofs. It's funny, the health hospital people didn't get that one either. The reason I'm running, and that's the only thing that's really important right here, is the reason I'm running is because for the first time since 2004, when I first got involved in politics, the requirements fit what I can do. I'm a CPA, I'm a systems engineer, I've done financial fraud investigation, I've done 900-page audit reports, I've done system efficiency. Those are the things that we need in Augusta the most right now. If it's not, you folks can vote for one of these other 7 candidates, or however many are there when voting time comes. But if you want the problems in Augusta solved by a professional who knows what it takes, not somebody who's not sure what it takes, I know what it's going to take to unravel the mess in Augusta. I'm proud to say that I'm the son of 2 very successful and somewhat wealthy sons who are, one who is doing well in Maine and one who refuses to come back to Maine because it's not a very good opportunity for him. So he's down in Massachusetts. When he left Falmouth, Maine, he got hooked up in the IT industry, and today he is the head of AI for Cognizant, a worldwide technical company. I'll leave it at that. If you have questions, I will come and visit you with at least a phone call, whatever it takes. I'm there for you. And when I started the Glenn Beck 912 project, I pledged to give my life to this party to make sure that Maine succeeds. And thank you very much.
Senator Jim Libby.
Thank you. I'm Jim Libby, and I've got 2 minutes to tell you how good I am. So, geez, I'm going to have to really work at this one. But let me tell you, first of all, I have been in the trenches my entire life. And so a lot of people in the Republican Party, the first thing they say is professor. Because those of you that know me know that I'm a professor. I've been an academic dean, I've been a professor, I've been an economist, I've been a basketball coach, I've been a girls basketball coach. There's so many roles that I've had, and each one of those roles, they really, in addition to being a senator, each one of those roles were hard. And I think that's what I want people to understand is, like, I have been battling on your behalf for a long time. Who else is teaching your kids and grandkids free market economics in college? Who else is doing that? Who else has been an administrator, like an academic dean in college, and hiring people that could really get the job done? Who else has been leading an organization like I do? And I'm not going to name my organization, you'll have to find out. But I've worked at many, full-time at places like Thomas College, St. Joseph's College, Colby College. And I really believe in education, so I've been on the Education Committee and Cultural Affairs Committee of the state legislature 3 different times out of my 6 terms in office. And my 6 terms in office were over 30 years. They weren't consecutive. I've been doing this for a long time. I believe in the Republican Party. I've been working my tail off. And so I tell everybody, you know, it is really important to differentiate myself, so I do. I tell people, I've got a PhD, I work full time. I've never taken an unemployment check in my life. I've had a job full time since 1987 in this state. I'm a 14th generation Mainer. I care about this state. And I know how to be governor because I've worked with some of the better ones. Jock McKernan was probably my favorite, and the thing that he taught me was, if you threaten the veto, you're gonna, first of all, you're gonna be a backwood for your party if they're in the minority. If they're in the majority, then we've got everything that we need. But if you threaten the veto, the 2 sides will have to work together. And you can get your own way anyway. So there you go. Thank you.
Robert Wessels.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to start out by having a sappy moment here. 2 years ago, I was sitting in the Civic Center and I was looking around the room and I knew nobody. And it was right around that time that I had just launched my campaign for governor. And so I'm looking around the room tonight and I know a ton of you. And so those of you who don't know me, come on over, let's talk. I'd love to chat with you. But the last 2 years I have been campaigning around the state and it's been an amazing experience. And I've absolutely loved having the conversations with thousands and thousands of Mainers all over the state. And so, who is Robert Wessels? Sorry, thank you for going down memory lane with me. I'm a businessman and I have my MBA. I am just a everyday Mainer who looked at Augusta and said, this is not sustainable, this is terrible, somebody's got to do something, and I have the ability and I'm willing to do it, and so I stepped up to do it. I also acknowledged that nobody knows my name, so I need to get started early. I'm a family man, and we homeschool all 3 of our kids. They're 17, 19, and 21, and 2 of them are here tonight. So again, just to me, family matters, and when I look at where we are as a culture and where we need to be, we have so much ground to make up with the family and parental rights. Education as well. I'm a financial coach. I've been doing financial coaching Dave Ramsey for the last 18 years. And so I'm one of those budgeting nuts that absolutely, just give me a good spreadsheet and we can work on that. So again, why am I running? I'm running for my kids. I'm running for our future. We absolutely must focus on education and we must focus on the economics of our state because we are hurting. Thank you.
Jonathan Bush.
Hello there. I'm Jonathan Bush, and I am a disruptive innovator by trade. I'm the father of 7 fantastic children, some of them may be adults by now, and I am a fanatic Maine optimist because I have had the singular joy of looking under the economic hood in Waldo County of the Maine workforce and building 1,000 of the most marvelous, resilient, valuable jobs, growing net income in Waldo County 4 times more than the rest of the state. And yet, when you look outside of that one beautiful moment, we're in a terrible mess. Gosh, we're on the top of every list you don't want to be on. And we're on the bottom of every list you want to top. I don't know whether it's education at 39, down from number 1, infrastructure at 49, thank God for Alaska. It goes on and on. And it's because of a leadership culture that is toxic. There is an obsession with self-hating social engineering that has taken over this state, a largely conservative, self-sufficient state, over the last 10 years, and it blows my mind. What to do about it? We must act quickly. We must bring the American dream back in here and make it believable in Maine. That means we need to cut taxes, start with income by $1 billion. Then we got to audit Augusta, go through every line item and find the duplication and waste and automate and delegate, as I have done countless times before. Then we got to make Maine the easiest place in the country to build a home or a business. Today, we're almost the bottom. Now, I know these changes will be resisted. I know whole clubs and ecosystems of entrenched interests have grown up around this, but I know how to change that, and Lord help me, I will. Thanks.
David Jones.
Well, before I start, if we could just take a moment and a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk. As I'm starting, I'm going to tell you what I am not. I am not a lawyer. I am not a lobbyist. I am not a DC swamp rat. I've been working my entire life to make sure that the people here in the state of Maine get the representation that they're supposed to. I'm a businessman. First off, I'm a family man. My wife Nancy's here with some of my children tonight. I've been married to Nancy for 40 years. I have 6 children. I have 8 grandchildren. One was born just the other day. Renee Louise Renee Jones, right? It's new, right? It's new. And there's so many of them. But you know, I'm the guy that signs the front of the paycheck. I'm the guy that you read about that started from scratch. Didn't have any money. My parents were so broke they couldn't pay attention. I was in the construction business. I built my construction business up, and I've built a great life. And I've been living this life here in the state of Maine. I've invested 28 years of my life to make this a better place. I've been doing conservative efforts here in the state of Maine for over 20 years. I've been on a radio show with my buddy Ray Richardson. I don't know if anybody hears it. But we're about getting people out to vote. I'm running for governor because I know I'm that guy. I've been told I'm that guy. This was not a lifelong ambition for me to be the governor of the state of Maine. It's a calling. I felt that I had to do it because I have the skills. And you need somebody with skills. The next person that goes up to Augusta has to have the fortitude, the passion, and he has to be a warrior. I want to be your warrior. I want to be your governor. And I can guarantee you, you will not find anybody that'll work as hard and as smart as David Jones. Thank you very much.
You all are doing a fantastic job staying right on time here. Owen McCarthy.
So it means I have extra minutes, right? No. My name is Owen McCarthy. I'm a proud native of Patton, Maine, the son of a 3rd-generation logger and a 2nd-generation lunch lady. I grew up in a trailer on my grandfather's land, and growing up, I had a great path. At the time, the schools were the 4th in the country. We had great community values of hard work and integrity. I went on to college to be the first in my family to graduate from the University of Maine on the pulp and paper program in engineering. I worked in the paper industry, and then I became an entrepreneur. I started a medical device company that helped people improve their walking if they have a stroke or live with Parkinson's disease, brought $60 million of venture capital into this state, created good paying jobs, and did it all from here. I'm also a husband and a father of Oliver and Theodore, who are 5 and 2. And as I look across Maine today, I don't think the next generation has the same opportunity that I had. I don't think it's affordable to live here if you're a working class Mainer anymore. And that's why I'm running for governor. And as I look across Maine today, I blame the 7 years of one-party rule in Augusta for the reason why if you work hard and play by the rules, that's no longer enough. The cost of living is out of control. Taxes are some of the highest in our nation. Our test scores are low. Drugs are hitting our communities and young people are fleeing. And this is unacceptable to me. But it doesn't have to be that way. We need a change of direction and a fresh way of thinking. We're also in the fourth industrial revolution led by AI and the reindustrialization of America thanks to President Trump. And we can take advantage of that, but we can't take advantage of that if we elect another Democrat to this governor's seat in 2026. So we must win. The time is now to turn the page because we need something very different because working class families like the ones I grew up with are hanging on by a thread and there's no room to breathe. We need to make sure the next generation of Mainers have an opportunity, and I don't want to lose them because they're the heart and soul of the state. And that's why, as a friend of mine, Mike, coined, in June of next year, I hope that you all will be saying, I'm going with Owen.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to start off our first question. It'll be to Jim Libby. Let's start off with the economy. The cost of living crisis has crushed Maine families and small businesses under Janet Mills, especially when Joe Biden was president. As governor, what is the single most important action you will take to help get the cost of living under control?
Well, I'm going to take this off first and let you know that my entire campaign is related to lowering the cost of living, and that's our tagline. And so I think the single greatest, I mean, unfortunately there's several things you have to do short and long term. I think the single greatest thing I've just learned that I have exactly the same as Mr. Bush. We both are calling for a $1 billion over 4 years income tax cut. But when I talk about the short versus the long run, where my constituents in Senate District 22 are suffering the most, unfortunately, is the property tax. So in the short run, there really has to be an effort there to, I got 15 seconds, so I'm going to tell you what that effort is. There really has to be an effort to at least triple the homestead, work with the towns to see if we can convince them to get back to that property tax cap, growth rate cap that we had just a couple of years ago. And there's a lot more to it, and I'm going to have to stop right there.
All right, 1 minute, Robert Wessels.
Thank you. Didn't know which direction we were going there. So in 1 minute, what is my top priority? I would have to say we need to create a Maine Doge. We need to create an entity in the state of Maine that looks at unnecessary spending and inefficiency, can you imagine, government inefficiency, and find solutions that work that will lower our state budget. Our state budget has grown by $4 billion, and that's absolutely ridiculous, and we can cut that significantly simply by doing a Maine Doge. The other piece that the Doge would do is we need to root out bureaucracy and get back to cutting red tape and allowing our businesses to thrive. We are chasing businesses out of the state, and there goes the jobs with them and our kids with the jobs. So again, we need to cut that bureaucracy, we need to cut the red tape, and we need to find efficiencies in there, as well as fraud and corruption. So I am out of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan Bush.
All right, cost of living, right? All right, first of all, the taxes is the easiest and most important first thing to do, $1 billion off the income tax. Second, we've got to add a second natural gas pipeline right next to the one we have. It's the fastest way to get our fastest rising cost, which is energy and electricity cost, down. The only reason we don't have it is we're being blocked by certain governors, and we will roll right over them because it's a restraint of trade. Now you can get into the cost of housing. The supply chain, all the way from the first time you ask for permission to the last hammer driven, is absurd. We have to have codes that are immediately available so we can show up with shovels and not lawyers to build our homes. Last thing, property tax in towns. Each town has a huge amount of duplication in Maine, subscale. We need to be able to offer automated services to towns so that their ability to do their job comes down and they don't need to hammer people with the property taxes we have. That's my comment.
Thank you very much. David Jones.
Well, we've heard Doge a couple of times here already, but I'm going to say it again because I have a different spin on it. It's called David's Office of Government Efficiency. I'm telling you right now, I look at the way government spends our money. We have to lift up the hood. We have to find out what in God's name they're spending our money on. So, you know, people will make promises. They're going to lower taxes. They're going to eliminate this. They're going to eliminate that. But before we can do any of that, we have to find out where the money is. I think the increase of $4 billion of our budget is absolutely absurd. I think the first thing we could do once we get under the hood is to eliminate income tax on seniors. I think seniors have paid their dues already. So I would say we have to first take care of them. They've worked their entire life for their home and now they have to take mortgages out to pay their property taxes. I don't think this is the way it's supposed to be here in this great state of Maine. We have a problem with property taxes, we have a property with income tax, and I promise you I'll get the job done.
Owen McCarthy.
So 1 month ago, I heard about my Uncle Thumb had to go buy a skidder because he could no longer afford to live here on Social Security at 77 years old. And so this problem is near and dear to my heart. The three things you have to do. One is you have to build more supply of housing. We need to get out of the way. Government shouldn't be in the way, and we should let developers build. Two, energy costs. Solar subsidies are 10% of the cost of electricity that we have in this state right now. It's a $2.5 billion market, 250 million of that is solar subsidies. We need to roll that back and invest in other opportunities like next generation nuclear and like natural gas. And three is taxes. We have a spending problem in the state of Maine. You gotta cut the spending, and then we gotta go after the taxes that hit the people the most. Homestead exemption for property taxes is a great idea, and otherwise, we gotta cut the income tax.
Thank you. Bobby Charles.
So it's great to hear that actually there's a lot of consensus up here. The nutshell version for me is you cannot cut income taxes and property taxes until you cut spending. It's a fundamental fact. And I would literally tell you we've got to get rid of all the funding for the illegals, which is 8,000 illegals, get rid of that to your housing, get rid of all that, get rid of the subsidies, get rid of net energy building, get rid of the subsidies for solar and wind, and then basically cut the waste, fraud, and abuse. And you may say, well, where is it? Well, 4,500 insider contracts is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. So what is the answer to the question? First, you roll back the mandates, 300 or 400 of them on towns and counties so that they can in turn cut property taxes. That is a huge issue. And then I ask you to look at this dollar bill here. It's actually a $5 bill. This $5 bill times 1,000 is the median income tax for payers in this state. I want to leave all 1,000 of these bills in your pocket so that at the end of the day we got $3 billion more and the multiplier effect creates growth in the state of Maine.
Thank you. And Vigilante.
Well, it's a pleasure to be the last guy to answer the question. So, oh wait, one more? Oh, sorry. I thought you already went. That doesn't count on my time, does it? Does that count on my time? All right, go. All right, so listen, first it feels like the state's trying to choke people, literally, almost on every turn. It's like everyone here is just the opportunity to get more money to run the state, and it has to stop. So to run through the list, obviously you have to get rid of net energy billing. Electricity can be fixed. If you can't repeal it, you can break it. Lower spending on the budget, you gotta let some steam out of the system. It's not a revenue issue in the state, we have plenty of money. The taxes have to go down. You've got a tax rate at 5.8% if you make $26,000. Massachusetts charges 5% up to $1 million. Our highest tax rate takes place at $63,000. Corporate tax rate's too high. Business isn't going to come here anymore. You can improve the economy. You have to have businesses, small, medium, and large, firing on all cylinders, because without the jobs, you can't fix anything. You've got to rework the insurance market. Health insurance is too high. We have the lowest car insurance in the country. I don't know if you know that. That's because so many people sell car insurance. You can do the same thing here. Improve the volume on housing to bring that pricing down. Property taxes are a crisis. You can stop that. and nip the school budgets in the bud, and there's ways to do that.
Thank you. Ken Capron.
It's capron, like an apron with a C on it, but just keep that in mind. Proud to say that I'm the Doge in the crowd. I have done all the things that a Doge would need to do. I know exactly what to do with it when I get my hands on the state, but I'll tell you, there's one thing that all of us have missed except for me. There is a culture in our state which is opposed to growth, opposed to honesty, opposed to accountability, and just outright opposed to anyone telling them what to do. And they spend like banshees, and they run through our money, our tax money, and they keep taking more. So my job is, if I get elected, when I get elected, you're out. My job is to go in and find efficient ways to do more with less. I've done that before, and I'd love to tell you about it, but feel free to grab a flyer.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to the second question. The first response here will be Robert Wessels. Sticking with the economy, under Janet Mills and Augusta Democrats, Maine just saw the highest electricity cost increase in the nation, more than double the next highest state. What steps will you take to not just control, but reduce energy costs for Maine families? Mr. Wessels.
Yes, just a month ago, I was looking at my energy bill, and I agree with you. It's gone up tremendously, and I'm sure most everybody here would agree. We absolutely must address energy, because energy is it's the foundation behind businesses, behind everything, right? When you go to groceries, you're buying energy. When you get your car done, you're buying energy. It's everywhere. And so not only that, but I think one of the things that we absolutely need to key in on is Maine is in competition with the other 50 states. All right, I was talking with a senior manager of a healthcare facility a couple months ago, and I said, what is the #1 problem that you guys are having? Hiring. He said, we look at, he goes to hire a doctor, they're looking at multiple states, and they look at our energy prices as well as education and all the other things we've talked about, but that is absolutely one of the biggest things that is keeping us from hiring and fixing our economy. So I'm out of time. Thank you.
Jonathan Bush.
Well, I blew my line on the last one. We need that second pipeline badly. It's absurd that we don't have it. We run out of gas all the time. We buy gas on a ship to come from other countries because of the Jones Act, we don't have any, anyway, long story, but not your fault, I'm sure. Day one, first thing, the solar switching and the solar energy subsidies are an instant cut in the cost of electricity. Year 1 or 2 is the second pipeline. And then year 3 or 4 is laying on small modular nuclear reactors that take way less time to shut down, seconds, and are much safer. People still think of nuclear energy as 3 Mile Island. It's not like that anymore. Those 3 waves are what we need to do to get that energy cost down.
David Jones.
Well, small modular nuclear reactors. We have lines that are in place we can activate within probably 3 to 5 years is what I'm hearing. All right, the people that I've spoken to think that's the way to go. Now, we also have to have a second source, which is the natural gas, and I agree with Jonathan on this. And I think anybody who's looked into this understands that we need that pipeline. Now, how do we get that pipeline in when you have states that are blocking it? You've got to have someone that's going to be able to work with these other states to get the permission, to get the pathway cut, to bring those lines into our state. The idea that we're shipping in gas is absolutely absurd. We have it here, it's close by. All we got to do is have a governor that will work to make sure that we have a relationship with neighboring states to get the job done. It's all about relationships. In the real estate business, that's what I do. I develop relationships. That's what we have to do with our neighbors, and we have to do the same thing with the feds. The idea that we have this blockade between us and Washington, D.C. is absurd. I will cooperate in every single way possible. Thank you.
Owen McCarthy.
I was in Bangor this week and I was talking to a business owner, and she said that they just had a roundtable with Governor Mills, and everyone brought up the cost of energy as a problem, and she was dismissive of that. So we need to win to go do this. And from there, as I said before, the net energy billing subsidies need to be cut. That's 10% of the cost right now. We're actually buying the solar at a higher price. That's a problem. Second, lower cost generation, natural gas, hydro, and nuclear are options there. And we can speak the modular nuclear into existence, I believe. 4 is transparency. Any bill that comes in front of the legislature, we need to make sure it has a ratepayer statement and impact on it so we understand how much it could impact. There's been 330 pieces of legislation and energy passed in the last group of years. It's a lot to uncover, but we need to make sure it's really transparent for all of you when they go through. And finally, people are policy. We need really good people in the energy team that's worked in energy, that's worked, I hate to say this, but as lawyers, because it's really complicated, you gotta understand that, but also our engineers. And those are the things you do to work on lowering energy.
Bobby Charles.
All right, I'm going to try to burn through this since we're all admiring the same problem. There are 10 things I will do. First, I will get politics out of energy. We will get real professionals on the PUC, no more fake deregulation. End net energy billing. That literally is 95% of us paying for 5% to virtue signal. We're not going to do that anymore. Get rid of the wind towers. That costs us 27 cents per kilowatt hour instead of 5 cents. We're going to complete the Constitution pipeline, very, very simple, and link in the Iroquois pipeline. Then we have very cheap natural gas here. We're going to review the 330 energy mandates that Mills has stuck on us. We're going to reconfigure the PUC so you get real experts on it. We're going to force short, medium, and long-term planning. We're going to order the buyout by the PUC of solar contracts, 15%. Discount, and we're going to withdraw from the Regional Greenhouse Initiative and from the 10-state MOU, which is complete junk and hasn't delivered anything. We're going to give it tax incentives for small modular nuclear reactors. I'm already talking to a couple of companies. And we are not going to shut down those 4 dams. We are going to keep SAPI open.
Ben Mitchell.
Okay, so this is really a half-hour topic, so you got to move a little bit. So everyone said you got to repeal net energy billing. You do. There's actually a legislative clause in that. So if you can't get it done with a majority, the governor's got to step up and force that. So you can do that. By getting rid of net energy billing, you can get rid of the public policy charge, or most of it. That's hurting businesses. They have more money. They're going to hire more people, spend more money in the economy. The standard offer needs to be changed. That's where we buy our electricity. We're forced to buy from a portfolio of renewable energies. New Hampshire doesn't do that. They have one of the lowest increases in electricity in the country. They buy from gas and hydro. You got to repeal the hydro cap that King put into place. That's 100 megawatts. That's got to go. That's cheap energy. Reappoint the PUC. We've got Bowtie guy that's making all the wrong decisions, raising our rates all the time. You can reweight that committee, and we can get that going in the right direction. Appoint a public advocate that's 100% consumer focused. No restrictions on fossil fuels, transportation, storage, or usage. Small nuclear is good. It's going to take 5.5 years from approval. And then just bottom line, we need reliable baseload power at the cheapest possible price.
Ken Capron.
You got it right. I'm glad to be the last person to speak on this topic. All right. A couple things. One, I was on George Hale, Rick Tyler's show the other day talking about energy. So if you want 12 minutes of more detail, please check that out, one of their rewinds. And I also have attended a couple of the PUC meetings that are going on now for that rate change of 35% that we all are looking forward to over the next 5 years. And the thing that was concerning is there are not a lot of people coming up with ideas on how to cut energy costs. Obviously, net energy billing is an issue. In fact, the PUC didn't even want to discuss that net energy billing. But I proposed 5 different ways to add revenue without bothering the ratepayer, the taxpayer, the bill payer. So, you know, listen to RT or GHRT, and we'll see if we can't solve this one real quick.
When the Shawmut Dam was first being studied, I was working at Colby College, and I was asked to write the economic impact study on the tearing out of the dam. And that was several years ago now, and I knew then that we were in big trouble. We're not in trouble because the paper companies are using the electricity. They use electricity, but where we are in trouble is if we tear those 4 dams down, the water level goes down, and it's actually, the water is what's used in the production process of the paper companies, so you have to have that. So I handed it over to a colleague who had written about the Edwards Dam, and you know what my colleague said? And he thought tearing down the Edwards Dam would be fine after his study. He said, there is no way that we can afford to tear the Shawmut Dam down. And so the reason I handed it over was because I was about to run for the state legislature, and I thought it would be a conflict of interest. And that's just the way I am. So we have to take care of what we have. Hydro is the best. No one's talked about biomass. I really believe that biomass is a great future in this state. Obviously, there's several other clean energy alternatives. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Next question. As has been reported by the Maine Wire and followed by a number of mainstream media outlets, and even discussed in hearings in Washington, D.C. by Senator Susan Collins, Chinese organized crime has put down roots in Maine, but Democrats, including Governor Jana Mills, seem to be uninterested in dealing with it. This is not only marijuana, but narcotics, and in some cases, human trafficking. What actions will you take to eradicate, not just fight, but eradicate this problem in Maine? Jonathan Bush.
I am amazed at the slip of the rule of law in this state over the last 8 years. You know, we passed a law that if you identify as homeless, you can get caught breaking and entering and not go to jail. You can use hard drugs in public. These weed houses, oh well, weed's legal now, so what's the difference? These are illegal weed houses. This idea that subjectively, based on what you need, based on your plans, based on the identity of the criminal, you can change the rule of law is a poisonous, toxic way of thinking about society. It's bad for the regular people who do their work, thank you girl, who do their work and play by the rules, but it's also bad for the criminals themselves. Sometimes 3 hots in a cot are what it takes to save a life. Some order in their life, some sense that there's a boundary. And the insult on our law enforcement community, not allowed to help with federal investigations of immigrants, not all illegal immigrants, not allowed to work together to arrest people. This is crazy talk, and it will stop when I'm gone.
Thank you. 1 minute, David Jones.
Yes, sir. So I've spent the last, 45 days touring most of the correction centers throughout the state of Maine. And I've talked with all the sheriffs, and one general consensus I have is that the biggest problem we have here is the infiltration of illegal drugs, and the Chinese cartels are a big part of that. That's where it's stemming from. Now, we're, in many cases, I hate to think that this is what's happening, they're being told to stand down. Police officers are turning a blind eye because they're told by the people that are running our cities and our towns to stand down and allow it. Day one, I promise you that every local PD, sheriff's department, state trooper will be given the green light to enforce the laws of our land without exception, I promise. If that doesn't work, then the National Guard will come in to help them as well. But we will stop it, it'll be done, and we'll get back to what we all want here in the state of Maine, where we're safe and secure and drugs are not part of our culture.
Thank you. Owen McCarthy.
Well, as governor, you have the bully pulpit and the ability to message and talk about an issue and speak it into existence. And for this one, this is one that we need to acknowledge, we need to talk about it, we need to let the criminals know that this is not okay in our state. 2 is we need to really drive support for law enforcement and interagency coordination 3 is we need to use every means necessary to disrupt the flow of money into these organizations. Money is the way that things move, and there's a lot of real estate transactions, and there's a lot of ways that we can work through that. And finally, this is just something that we need to make sure that is top of mind, and it has been done in places like Oklahoma. They have driven them out, they have come here. We can drive them out of Maine, and we'll have to do that.
Thank you. Bobby Charles.
So, I've spent the better part of my life doing this, and I'll make it as quick as possible. First, we absolutely do need to get ICE in and the illegals out. That is a start, because a lot of them are tied to the major drug trafficking groups. Second, we're going to make every county in this state a high-intensity drug trafficking area. That means we have 1 now, all 16. We're going to get SAMHSA money in, which then allows the Get Well, Stay Well plan for treatment. We're going to up-fund the police instead of down-funding them. We're going to take the cuffs off, let them do their job, and protect our border. I want to close by showing you something. This is a needle, okay? These are needles. And this is naloxone hydrochloride. This is Narcan. I will tell you right now, they give out 240,000 of these a year, Narcan, to resuscitate people. They give them to our schools. And these needles, they give out 3.7 million of them. This is not the solution for the state of Maine. 10,000 overdoses need to be stopped, and we drive the drug traffickers out.
Thank you. Ben Ridgely.
All right, just on the illegal Chinese marijuana, spent a ton of time with Steve Robinson. Everybody's got to give Steve Robinson credit. The guy's amazing when it comes to that. And that's just law enforcement walking a line. The men and women in law enforcement want to do their job. The state does not have a policy of supporting and backing law enforcement, so that's going to change. We are still in the top 10 of all states in the country for drug deaths and overdoses. It's probably affected a lot of people in this room. We lost our nephew to a drug overdose, so we understand what that is. It's very personal. You've got to end all sanctuary state laws. LD 1971 has got to go. You got to get rid of those things in Portland and all of that. Recruitment is way down for our police. You have to back them. There's no incentive for people to take that job in the state. You do have to fund mental health, and a lot of credit for Bobby. He's great on this subject. You got to prosecute criminals too. We've relaxed every prosecutorial process in the state. Our lawyers in the state are completely backed up over and over again. One of the biggest issues is bail violations. They can't even keep up with them. So lots of work to do.
Thank you. Ken Capron. Capron, sorry, Ken.
I'll have to put my sign up to cut that out. Yeah, so I know when to admit that I don't know this area. It's not an area of expertise for me. I'm not somebody who investigated drug crimes, or I'm the guy who chases financial issues and systems problems. But when Bobby and I were in Belfast, we kind of played off each other, and I'll say the same thing here. Bobby, I would hire Bobby Charles on a flash to take care of this problem. Or, I'm sure you've heard of Josh Filler, who's on the WGAN radio program. Both of them are just really good people when it comes to drug issues and crimes. Maybe we need an MBI, our own Bureau of Investigation. Maybe we need a strong MDEA, Maine Department of Drug Enforcement, or whatever. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Jim Libby.
Ken, you were second to last. So, Chinese nationals come to Maine and they pay cash. President Trump doesn't want any Chinese national to pay anything. They're not even going to own land in Maine. Think about that for a minute. That's what we have to stop. They should not be able to own land in Maine. And can you believe that they're eligible for mortgages here? I've read the mortgages. I've also, as a state senator, visited drug houses, and the thing that breaks my heart is that we have such a serious drug problem that we have flop houses in my Senate district that I have visited, and we have to put a stop to that. And the one way to put a stop to that is there's kids in the flop houses. I watched 2 children walk down the road with a couple of people that were completely stoned out on drugs. Who has to make that door knock? The DHHS has to get there sooner. We have to let law enforcement get involved, and we can't take no for an answer.
Thank you. Robert Wessels.
The interesting part, or the sad part, with the Chinese marijuana grows is, has anybody heard or seen Janet Mills at all on this, right? Zero response from Augusta as far as that goes. We must declare war on drugs in Maine. We need to empower our law enforcement, and we need to consistently enforce the laws. We need to create a culture of law and order. We are soft on crime, and it is killing us. Literally, some of us. We need to put the blindfold back on Lady Justice because it's been taken off, and we have to work with ICE, we have to work with federal agencies, we have to empower, and we have to fund our law enforcement, and we must, again, I'm gonna repeat it, we must stop being soft on crime. Thank you.
Thank you. The chairman's the one with the background in law enforcement. I'm going to keep my crime question to a show of hands. Raise your hand if you think that the Mills administration's refusal to engage with local and federal authorities on organized Chinese crime should be independently investigated. There you have it, folks.
David Jones, new question. Before we move on to the next topic, I just want to ask each of you, oh, I'm sorry, forgive me. Yep, that's it. I want to ask a question that goes to the big challenges Maine faces, and those challenges not being something that any one individual can overcome on their own. It's going to take a team to win this election and a team to fix Maine's problems. Looking around your opponents on stage, please identify one subject as governor that you would seek advice from your opponents, one of your opponents who is on the stage. So if we want to look around the stage and pick out one who you would pick advice from when you become governor. And what would that subject be? Thank you.
Well, I've said it on air, and I'll say it again here today, that I think Jim Libby would be a great commissioner of education. He's got the background, he knows the industry. It's important that whoever does that eliminates the DEI, the SEL, and the CRT. Our kids have to get back to learning, and the things that are to get them through life. We have to have vocational training. I think he'd be a fantastic commissioner of education.
Thank you. Oh, when you become governor.
I'm calling David Jones, and I'm calling to ask about how we build more housing. Because this guy has built a lot of housing and a lot of real estate in this state, and he knows how to get things done.
Thank you. Bobby Charles.
So the truth is, I will consult with everybody on this stage about everything, because we are one team, one fight, and we gotta win. And the short version is, on education, I've read, and Jim knows it, I've read his PhD thesis. It's damn good. I read it cover to cover. And that was a chore, but it's deep and thick and good. And I'm gonna tell you, he'd make an awesome commissioner. So everybody up here has got talent, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Look, I'd choose Bobby to fight drugs, and or as Attorney General too. I think he'd be great at that, man. Not that you wouldn't be a bad governor. I'm saying.
Thank you. Dan Capron.
Thank you. I want to point out something I said at the Mid-Maine Chamber of Commerce, and that is that we've got 8 people who are really good, who get along really well, and I think we ought to be the cabinet for whoever does win that position of governor. There's a lot of talent, and even Jason said in the back room there when he was telling us to behave. We get along really well, and I would love to work with any of these guys myself. I've already deferred to Bobby Charles on the drug and police and enforcement issue, but we all ought to be there come next November. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Libby.
These people are equally talented. So, I mean, making a choice is kind of, I could give you any of them, but I guess what I'm going to say is just because of the plan that I have, we need to seed entrepreneurship. And so I'm going to look over to Ben Midgley and say, Ben, I think you can start a lot of businesses in this state, and I think you can improve the ones that we have. I think you understand business plans, which I work with every day with young students. I think you can help us with economic development. But again, in closing, I just want to say, every single person here, this is the most talent I've seen in my 35 years of service to the people for government ever. Keeping me out of it, just looking around me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Robert Wessels.
I echo that. I absolutely love the question, so whoever picked that, thank you. And I look around the table and there's a ton of skill and knowledge and experience here. So again, without sounding like a broken record, I definitely would pick multiple people. As far as the actual question though goes, I would say Bobby Charles on crime. He doesn't know it, but I've listened to podcasts, I've listened to things, and I'm like, oh, and I'm learning and you know, brushing up on that subject, and absolutely love listening to him talk about crime, and we absolutely need to wipe it out in the state of Maine.
Thank you. Jonathan Bush.
Owen's so smart. It's got so much passion. And in 8 years, he'll be just old enough to be governor when I'm done. It's just going to be perfect timing. And he can do anything he wants in my administration, because I watched him build his business, his healthcare tech business, in Maine from scratch, turned every little nugget of insight and wisdom he got from his family and his own natural brilliance into just a great testament to Maine. And so one way or another, I'm going to get him to work for me.
Okay, thank you. That was fun. We're now on to a question that was sent in by one of our sponsors for the event tonight. Owen, this is going to be your question first. We have proudly served our Maine community for 20 years as a small business. Unsustainably, the cost of healthcare continues to skyrocket, with an employee's family health insurance plan costing $28,000 to $36,000 a year. What specific actions will you take as governor to bring down the cost of health insurance for small businesses like ours? 1 minute.
Well, thank you. So I have built a business in healthcare and ran a small business. My business in healthcare was all about getting people access to care where they are and keeping them out of the emergency rooms, which is some of the most expensive procedures that you have. So as you think about how we lower the cost of healthcare in the state, one is we need to make sure that we have strong reach with telehealth and then options for people in the communities to reach them for minor things and to keep them out of the emergency rooms from that perspective. Two, we need to make sure that our EMS, which in some towns when you call 911, no one shows up, or some places, and that's a fundamental problem in society, is well funded and set up well. Three is it's a payer mix issue. We have moved so many people onto Maine Care. There's 400,000 people on Maine Care now. They pay 70 cents on the dollar to the hospitals. They then try to make it up on the commercial plans from there, and that's really difficult. We need to change that payer mix so that way it can lower the cost of healthcare. And then finally, we need to pay providers on time. Many of them have almost gone out of business and have potentially gone out of business because of how we've done that, and not having them just creates a cycle where it costs more and more and more.
Bobby Charles.
Yeah, so actually Owen is spot on there. I might have to, add to my last question. Fraud in Maine Care is unbelievable right now. We're talking about somewhere between 100 and 2 or even potentially $300 million in fraud in Maine Care. Wraparound for illegals, everything under the sun, 30 nonprofits doing terrible things that really are illegal. And so you got to investigate that, get rid of it, make it affordable. The second thing is, if you can help businesses pay their taxes, they can afford other things. And one of the things we need to do is drop drop the income tax to a point where people can afford to do that, both at the personal and corporate level. And the last thing I'll say is that, we are not doing a favor right now to our hospitals. We need to. The point that Owen raised about the conflict between Maine Care and private funding is absolutely true. But one of the things we've got to do is make sure that it's accessible, affordable, and quality, and stop doing things like pulling neonatal units out of hospitals and redlining them.
Okay, yeah, so Maine, to Owen's point and Bobby's point, is not a competitive healthcare market anymore. Insurers don't want to come here. It's what we were talking about with the car insurance. When there's so many car insurance, providing car insurance, your rates go down. So you have to improve the mix of getting more insurance companies in here, make it more interesting for them, and then we're going to have lower prices on the personal side. Maine Care has gone out of control. You've got 30% of the state on Maine Care. There needs to be a bridge to get these folks to the next level, like I talked about earlier. Have them pay in a little bit, you start to reduce the budget, you get people moving up in the economy, supporting their families, doing a lot better off, the hospitals get paid on time. The state needs to pay the hospitals on time. LePage was doing it, Mills doesn't do it, she doesn't care about it. If you don't pay them on time, they're gonna get rid of staff, it's gonna happen. We were just talking to the Life Flight guys downstairs. I think we closed, 6 birthing centers in northern rural Maine in the last 60 days. Too much. You got to stop illegal immigrants getting health care. There's no way around that. And good point on telecare. And you got to get rid of con laws, which is a competitive law that stops more hospitals and medical providers from opening the state without state regulation and other hospitals trying to stop them from doing it.
What's my name?
We're gonna start skipping the name because I've said everybody's name multiple times and you all have figured out the order you're going in now. So
I'm Ken Caburn. What you don't know yet, or you will know soon, I've spent 10 years in hospital administration, 6 years at Maine Medical Center, the largest hospital system in the state, and I was the director of finance, and I know what drives the costs of healthcare. There are numerous ways that we can cut costs if the state allows it. The first question I have to ask is not one that's popular, but would we be better off with a monopoly running healthcare? No. Because it's not very competitive right now. So I just want to throw that out there. That is an option that should be considered. But there's other things. There's a program that Maine has rejected for years called PACE. And I encourage you to go and look up PACE. It's the Program for All-Inclusive Care for elders. For dually eligible elders, it provides 100% of the cost of their care, drugs, therapy, and they have a very low rent. It's a very well-run, well-planned program, and we have avoided it for years. But there's a whole lot more ways to save costs in healthcare. I know them.
Well, I think Owen's a genius in this area, but I want to differentiate myself a little bit. Nobody at this table worked on the workers' comp system like I did. Nobody led the effort to make sure that we created MEMIC, Maine Employers Mutual, and then spun it into a private organization when every single insurer left this state. Nobody did except me and the people that were in the legislature at the time. But that's an example of the kind of system analysis that I try to do. And in this particular case, again, back to Owen, he didn't say this, but President Trump is looking at the problem of Medicaid, and we have to raise at the federal level the reimbursement rate, or else this cycle that's happening that's causing hospitals to close will continue to happen, because Medicaid is below cost. The hospitals my hospital and Inland Hospital closed already. I mean, we've got other providers losing their jobs. We can't have a healthcare system that treats people that are on Maine Care like second-class citizens, but charges the people that are in the private sector. I will fix that. Thank you.
Calling out the obvious, hospitals are businesses. Again, they're struggling because Maine is horrific for businesses and we are chasing them out of the state. And hospitals are no different, so they're shutting down. We have to fix the energy, we have to fix the housing, we have to fix the taxes. The cost of living and cost of doing businesses is impacting our healthcare. That being said, we also need to increase competition in the insurance area for healthcare. And we need, I love the telehealth idea, and I'll just throw it out there in the end. We need to repeal LD 535 that allows school-based health centers. They're terrible.
Oh, I can't wait to get my hands on the healthcare system in Maine. Oh my lordy. Shifting everybody onto Medicaid is a crazy and terrible idea. It destroys the accountability with the social contract. We've got to roll people back. If you can work, you can get coverage. Community paramedicine, we've got to be able to there are paramedics trained and able to treat people in their communities, and they're not being allowed to in Maine. They're having to drive them an hour or two to the hospital, be taken out of their community so they can go to an emergency room where they can sit for 12 hours in order to have the privilege of paying $4,000 to stay alone. That's the way we do it right now in Maine. It's crazy. There's an accountability problem with the payers, and then there's a delivery system problem. Community paramedicine has been experimented with. There's 3 fabulous old doctors in Bangor that have the Sisyphus Breakfast Club. We've got a whole playbook for it. We're going to be able to make that happen. And then we're going to build certificate of need, I think is what you meant, right, Ben? The certificate of need, the idea that the hospitals get to decide if a competitor should be allowed to be built to them. That's crazy. Of course we should encourage competition and not make it illegal in Maine. I can't wait.
Well, when I become governor, I'm going to give you that job. How's that sound? I want to make your dream come true. You know, we look at where we are here in the state of Maine. We have, I think it's about 435,000 people that are on Maine Care. It's absurd. That's almost 1/3 of our population. 1/3. Now, we have 1.4 million people in the state of Maine. It's very similar to what they have in New Hampshire. But you know what? New Hampshire only has about 100,000 people. Why is that? Why are so many people? So what we have to do is we got to look really, and this goes back to Dave's office of government efficiency. I was just reading your time card. But that goes back to Dave's office of government efficiency. We will look under the hood, we will find out what the hell. There's a lot of people that are on Maine Care that definitely should not be on it, and it's making people that should get it not be able to get the things they need. So we'll do that job, and he'll get the job as insurance commissioner.
Thank you very much. I have to say, the give and take here has been spectacular. You're all doing a wonderful job, and I really am impressed. Very, very impressed. Thank you. Next question. Bobby Charles, you're up. A lot of people, myself included, are very concerned about election integrity in Maine, especially with Shanna Bellows as Secretary of State and her Amazon Prime ballot debacle. Please outline what you think are the 2 or 3 most important reforms Maine can make to secure our elections.
Easy. Get the illegals out of the state, number 1. Number 2, assure that we win on the first question, yes, so that you get voter ID every time you go. Listen, you have to do it to buy everything else in God's green earth. You ought to have it for the most important thing, which is the franchise. And then I say you sweep all those people who voted for no and are in government out.
They asked us to save time on the questions if we could, because this is an easy one, obviously. You've got to stop all the foolishness going on. I mean, Shanna Bellows gives everyone's voter data to a third-party group called ERIC, so they can register voters at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, whether they're citizens or not, or what have you. So you've got to stop all of that. Obviously, you've got to have voter ID, get the illegal migrants off the voter rolls, as you said, and just bring some integrity back to the elections. It's just not there anymore. There's too many things that people are suspicious of. And beyond that, yes on 1, support it 100%. Let's get this straightened out.
Ken Capron. This has been debated for so long. Voter ID, or picture ID is real critical. As an auditor, if I was doing an audit of the voting system, I would look to see that there is some proof that the person was eligible to vote, and then I would look to see that the vote was recorded correctly, which takes us back to the other issue about voting, and that is, are the machines calculating the votes, or is there software behind the scenes that's doing it? And if you've seen any of the shows on YouTube about integrity of voting systems, the machines, not just the people, you got to keep an eye on them, and we need all the controls we can get. Thank you.
We really want to make a difference on this. I want every single person that's in this room or within the sound of my voice to vote yes on one. Every single person. And I went to talk to Bill Diamond in June. I actually didn't know that he didn't look that ill, and I'm sorry that he's gone. But we talked about the fact that we need to reduce the amount of time that people can vote. I mean, it goes on for a month. There really isn't any need for that. He also talked about paper ballots and watermarks and making sure that the integrity was there, and he was right about that. One thing that I want you to realize is that I sat through BallotGate. Many people haven't talked about that, but if you don't think cheating occurs, all you have to do is look at the record. That's what I tell people about me. I look at my record. You'll find out Second Amendment perfect. You'll find out whatever you want to find out. But the record is not good in Maine. And if you think that the 250 ballots that were sent here, there, and everywhere, if you think that those weren't meant for something, I beg to differ. I beg to differ. I do not trust the system now, and we need to restore integrity. Vote yes on one, please.
So I agree with Ben. We need to get out of ERIC, the Electronic Registration Information Center. We also need to end ranked choice voting. I want to see us use serialized ballots, where the serial number on the ballot is attached to the municipality, not a person. But you would then very easily be able to track, did this ballot actually come from this municipality that it was supposed to? And we need to, I would love the paper ballot idea. I don't know if that will fly. If we can go paper ballot, that's great. But in the very least, we need to be using machines that are not connected to the internet. So people cannot see live how the election is going. We can easily disconnect those from the internet, and we need to make it happen immediately. And vote yes on one, and we'll just throw it out there. No on two.
I love this issue because the Shenabello's performance is near perfect fodder for us to start winning legislative seats and governor seats. The turning of a 70% obvious fairness issue into a twisted web of impossible to read words in the ballot initiative as it shows up is great for us to campaign against. Of course, it may be that as a result of that we don't win this time, no matter how hard those of us in this room try, but the issue is still ours. It is still ours to carry back into the state and win with again and again. Just like taking Donald Trump off the ballot. What a wonderful gift to us trying to do that. And then all of a sudden people who aren't hardcore Republicans are, well, geez, that doesn't seem very fair. That's not what I meant. That's not what the kind of place I want to live. We are having a beautiful, teachable moment with socialism in Maine right now. People are going, oh Lord, what is this? I didn't mean this. And I can't wait to harvest that. And not just win the governor's seat, but win the seats we need in the legislature, get our constitutional officers. And of course, then we'll be able to have reliable and fair elections as well.
Yes on one, no on two. I hope everyone's already voted that's in this room. If you haven't, tomorrow, you need to do it. Get out and vote. Now, we lost the control of the House here in the state of Maine because of 100 votes. 100 votes. Think of that. Then what do we end up with? Shenabello's, and Attorney Fry. If we don't win the House, and if we don't win the Senate, there's no sense in electing me as your governor, I'm telling you right now, because I'm not going to be able to do anything. I need the House and the Senate. You need the House and the Senate. You need, you're going to make a donation, and it's a choice between me and one of the House and Senate candidates, give your money to them, please, because without them, I'm a lame duck. You elect a good, we get Republican control of the House and the Senate, and you give me the governorship, and I will get the job done. I promise you, 100%. Election integrity, #1.
All right, so I'm going to challenge everyone to find 4 friends. Also vote yes on one. So we now have 2,000 people that have cast their votes for this and are starting to create some momentum, because I do think it's that important. As governor, I will support any reasonable measure to make sure that we believe our elections have integrity, and many of them have been talked about tonight. I believe that it's wild to me that every year I go in to vote, I already bring my ID in, I hand it to them, I don't need it. And so I think it's just common sense that should pass. Shanna Bellows is a character that is the key person that describes what is wrong with Augusta, and it should fire us all up to get out there and make a change when you see everything that's happened over the last years, but particularly over the last month with our elections. So I think yes on one, and we'll pass it on to Bobby.
Thank you, Owen. The next question is a question from the county committee. And hopefully your staff passed along the document that we sent. If they didn't, you have to talk to your staff about that. In one of the emails we sent around to candidates ahead of this forum, we provided you a copy of the Election Integrity Network Bill of Rights. This question is from a county committee. What are your plans for incorporating and implementing the Election Integrity Bill of Rights into Maine state statute to help procure more secure and trustworthy elections? Ben, you're up first.
And I read it. The majority of the recommendations are almost aligned with yes on one, so it's really not that hard. Paper ballots is one of them, for example. Maine already does that. So the other aspects align almost pretty fully. So it's the election integrity network. It's just striving to do across the country what we're doing here, or trying to do here. So support almost all of them. Structurally, you've got to work through the legislative process to get that in place. But as governor, you can lean in that as hard as possible. And if we don't succeed on this one, which hopefully we do, you've got to use every lever necessary to make sure it's in place for the next election.
Ken Capron. That's apron with a C on the front. The document that we got, you pronounced Shanna Bellows' name right. Anyway, the document that we got about the Voter Bill of Rights is a perfect foundation to give to the legislature and pray that the Democrats are not in charge of the legislature when we do that, or to give to the Congress or wherever this is being promoted. I hadn't seen this before you folks gave it to me, but it's hard to disagree with all the things that it does, and it really extends our rights as voters, as citizens, as people who have a right to have their voice heard. Thank you.
Well, I've been sitting here reviewing it while I had a little bit of extra time between, but I did read this, and the first thing I think I want to say is that I thought it took a lot of guts for Jim, yeah, thank you, I've got it right here too. I thought it took a lot of guts for Jim Dearmond to come out earlier this year and challenge the integrity of, and he had 50, I believe it was, examples where election integrity had been compromised, and that's what we need. We actually need somebody to stand up to people who don't seem to care about election integrity. And so if you look at most of these we've talked about, if you look at some of these, I guess I would endorse pretty much all of them, yeah.
Hey, can we just give it up for Jim for stepping out there to do that? What's his last name?
So I read through that as well, and as everybody else said, there really wasn't a lot in there nothing that I know of that I disagreed with. However, one of the things that it calls out here is only U.S. citizens can vote, right? I'm in favor of that, by the way. But the reality is, I'm not confident that that's what's going on. And so, to me, I'm looking and saying, okay, one of the things that we must do for election integrity is create that confidence. Let's pretend, just for a second, that it is only US citizens or Maine citizens that are voting, okay? There are probably a bunch of us, or a number of us in this room, who don't believe that's what's going on. We must create a system where everybody in this room and everybody in the other room are confident in the results. Because that is the foundation of what we're building here is with our democracy and our government.
I think what we want to do is win. We might not win this time, and we let a couple of little hooks and thorns get onto our voter ID law that gave them something to dig into. And if we lose, we need to come back with something clean. And when we do these election integrity movements, we ought to keep it tight and narrow. Think of it as a 60% thing. Like, we've got 70% of Mainers polled who agree with voter ID, and we might lose, even though we have 70%. Now, part of it is the marvelous Shanna Bellows setting us up for a win with her cynical, dark, twisted engineering of the wording of the bill. That was delicious. Just, you ever want to like bite your lip until you can taste the blood just for the pleasure? Sometimes it works. But we need to keep our bills and our motions and our integrity movements tight so that they win. We need to start winning. 60% of Maine is really a Republican waiting to come out. We need it to look that way by acting that way.
Well, I believe that honesty is the best policy, and I did not get the memo. But I can tell you, I believe in election integrity. We need to make sure that our elections are 100% secure. And when you elect the House and Senate, you get to pick who the Secretary of State is. We have an activist. We don't have a Secretary of State. You should never know who the Secretary of State's name is unless you look at your driver's license. By God, this woman is out there all the time. She tried to stop my president from becoming the President of the United States. She went for ranked choice voting in the general election against the Maine Constitution. And I think that actually got tabled. But everything she's done has been as an activist, not as a Secretary of State. So our election integrity has to be 100% secure. I've seen what's going on here with those 250 ballots. That's the ones we know about. We need to make sure that we have control of the House, the Senate, and we have a governor that's got the fire in his belly to make sure it's done, and I'll be that guy.
And David missed the awful change of the license plates that we've had in the state. Yeah. Bring back the chickadee. We should start the chant tonight. I got the document. There's a lot of stuff in there. I'm generally aligned with a lot of it. One of the things I thought was particularly important we do as we go about this process is that we protect the rights of our veterans that are overseas to vote in the elections. And we think about that group different from how we think about others, just to make sure that we allow them to vote and fulfill their duty while they're serving our country.
So I'll try to make this quick. How many people in this room are members of the conservative group AMAC? Like to see it. Okay, so I helped found that organization 17 years ago. And the reason that we have voter ID in 36 states is because we've worked aggressively state by state to get that to happen. So we obviously need to do everything in our power to get that here and to keep it here. And I also didn't touch base with the memo before this, but I'm quickly reading and telling you that the 6 main points in this I totally agree with. Proof of citizenship, obviously. By the way, the Democrat Speaker of the House, as some folks here know, tried to push the opposite of that all illegals get to vote. Are we crazy? Voter identification, yes. Restrictions on mail-in ballots, yes. Voter roll maintenance, yes. Tougher penalties, yes. Ending same-day registration, yes. How about honest, fair, high-integrity elections? It's that simple.
Thank you. The next question will be for Ken, rhymes with apron, capron.
All right, now you're cooking.
Yep. All right, Ken. More and more young people in Maine are struggling to buy a home. Prices have skyrocketed in Maine, and rents have gone right along with them. Democrats seem to think more government intervention will solve the problem, but it's only making the problem worse. What would you do to get government out of the way in the housing market and to increase supply and bring prices down? Go.
The housing market, oh boy. I don't know that anyone's found a solution to that problem, but I certainly would encourage state involvement and lending and supporting mortgages for new homes and new buildings. I've worked with the homeless issue in Portland, and I can honestly say that I offered to bring in a cruise ship that would house 4,600 people at less than $300 a month. So that was an effort to address the housing issue. That is, to deal with 84,000 shortage of homes is going to take a lifetime. We're in trouble, and we need to get a good director of HUD and a new administrator for Maine Housing Authority. Thank you.
Okay, we have to return to the private sector, and housing, somehow in Maine we've decided that housing is going to be a welfare program. Were you aware of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have, and nothing could be more dangerous to us in terms of that creep towards socialism than this housing issue. So what I always say is we really need to start with only seed capital to the private sector and help them build, and work on the supply side to get the prices down. You know what the real problem is? A lot of people don't like to listen to me on this one because I'm an economist, but there is absolutely no reason for us to give the incredible amount of power that we give to the Federal Reserve System to be able to print and expand the money supply. It's money supply dilution across the board that has led to all prices going up, from eggs to houses. And the problem is, and so we have to work with the federal government and put limits on the Federal Reserve. That's going to be that's going to be difficult. But I'm going to form a coalition of governors, because that's the way it's done, and we're going to attack the federal government and say, you need to get reins around the Federal Reserve System. We cannot triple and quadruple the money supply and put seniors in the mess that we put them in. Their valuations went up and they cannot pay their property taxes. That is wrong, wrong, wrong.
There are many things that play into the housing debacle that we have going on, the housing crisis in Maine. One aspect of that is it is just really simply supply and demand, right? Number one, on the demand side, we need to remove the illegal immigrants from the state and get them out of here. That frees up some housing. Number two, we need to stop the purchasing of single resident housing units by large multi-state or national corporations who are buying them up by hundreds and jacking up the prices. Number three, on the supply side, is we need to remove the unnecessary regulations and the red tape. Do you hear a theme? We constantly have unnecessary regulations and red tape. I've been talking to construction people all around the state, and it's estimated, every one of them came up with this number, it's estimated that the state of Maine adds 20% to the cost of a house by the regulations that we add on.
This is a big one, and I think that housing is one of the pivot issues for the Republican Party. This has been an issue that's been owned by Democrats for years, and they have prosecuted the agenda of going to take tax dollars, build really expensive housing, make a list of who gets given it, call it affordable housing because we gave it to them, and then it's a power base. It also concentrates poverty. When you build a building that is only for people that can't afford a house, when the job opportunity moves but the house that's free doesn't, you stay in the house. This is how we got our ghettos after the Great Society program. These are the kinds of things that poison society. What we need to do is own this as a party. Change the permitting regime. Delegate permitting out. We've got great engineering firms. We don't need state engineers making $48,000 a year falling behind looking at each permit. Change our building code. MUBOC 21 was a disaster. Make it affordability oriented. Change inspection rules. No hard stops. You don't wait for the town inspector. Town inspector shows up. If he doesn't make it, you keep going. So that we can take that 20, 30% of the cost of housing that is just regulatory baloney out of the belly.
No notes. Anyway, government is not the answer. Government is the problem. Bottom line, regulations are the problem. They cost us so much money. I've been in the building business my entire life. In real estate, that's all I do since I was 17 years old. I built thousands of homes. And I'm telling you, we built them and they were affordable because we built them en masse. We weren't building them onesies and twosies and fighting with the town hall to get permission to build a house on our own property. We weren't dealing with the DEP stopping us and telling us we got to put in more stormwater drainage. We weren't telling, you know, we got to get government the hell out of the way. We do that and we'll have affordable housing. We get government out of the way and we'll have people investing into our state. This isn't a secret sauce here. This is a simple problem. Get government out of the way, eliminate the regulations that stop us from doing what we want to do, and we will have ignition and people will build the houses that they've always dreamed of. Thank you.
I spoke in my opening statement about how I didn't think the next generation has the same opportunity that I had. And talking with the next generation, this is the issue that comes up a lot. They were telling me, Owen, the American dream of home ownership is now just a dream in the state of Maine. And there's 4 levers that you got to work on. One is at the state level, red tape, for example. If you divide a lot by 3 right now, you need DEP and DOT involved. Take that number up to 6, 9, 10, 12, get the state out of there. 2, at the local level, there's a lot of things you can do. You can do third-party reviewers. You can also reward the towns that want to build. I want to be careful though, because I'm a believer in local control, and I don't want to just assign towns what they have to do for building supply that needs to be chosen at that level. 3 is a workforce issue. You go to some parts of Maine and they say, oh, and I can get as many permits as you want, but I can't get an electrician. And so we need to train more people in the trades so we can fix that problem. And 4, in the meantime, the custom modular and the innovation that's going on there, I think is a really good solution to build high-end homes at lower cost in the areas where we have a workforce issue.
So the first thing is we do not need... Let's turn the battery to the other side. Thank you. See this cooperation business. So, first thing is we do not need more public housing. We need more homes that people can buy, young people. When I bought that coffee right there, the guy at the window started talking to me about affordability and housing. So 7 points. 1, the median monthly income for those under 35 in the state of Maine is $200 below median monthly rental. That is the death of the American dream. What did we do? We saved up money until we could finally get a piece of land and build. Second, we need a 5-year property tax exemption for first-time home buyers who are young. Third, we need tax credits for builders, including for the small homes. Next, we need trades returned to all the schools so that people actually build homes and learn how to do that. Next, we need to end the illegal housing for the illegals. All that 2-year special stuff that actually was intended for veterans, we need to help them with housing too. And then you need to drop the state regulations, and then as a governor, use the state power to leverage places like Bangor and Augusta dropping back their local regulations. When you do that, everybody can afford a house again.
Okay, so the biggest issue in lowering house prices is volume. If you don't have enough volume, prices won't go down. We need 80,000 units in the state right now. We're building at half the national average because the state doesn't support developers. It takes the average family right now, a young couple, a median income of $120,000 to buy a house. How many kids in the state can do that? The kids are going to move out of state. It's terrible. So you've got the state reviewing things like subdivision plans. That's local. You don't need to review a subdivision plan at the state. The climate action plan in place by Mills is killing house building. There's too many regulations in there, the insulation, all the additional costs that go on that. The low-income housing and penalties. For example, in Portland, if you don't build 25% workforce housing, they charge you a $177 penalty per unit. Why would a builder build there? It's not going to happen. You got to get rid of that stuff. In terms of incentives, New Hampshire does that very well. You can incentivize local municipalities by giving them extra money to improve permitting. And you can use the stick approach, but you obviously want to go with the carrot and get things moving a lot better.
You're all right on time again. We are down to we're a little bit over time. We're down to just several remaining questions that we want to try to get in here as a matter of, showing respect for the county committees that submitted one of them and another show of hands. I want to give the crowd an opportunity to show by their applause whether they want to end here. Cheer if you want to end here. Cheer if you want to keep going for a few more questions. That's democracy. This is a show of hands question. Both myself and the chairman are what we call girl dads. So we, like almost all Republicans, have serious concerns about letting biological boys and men dominate girls' sports and spaces. Raise your hand if you will follow the Trump administration's existing guidance on protecting girls' sports and spaces. Thank you very much for that.
Okay, we're almost at the end. Just a few more questions, and this one is for Senator Jim Libby. Jim, as I'm sure you know, some may be better than others. As chairman of the state party, I sit directly in the chain of command of the Republican Party, with President Trump at the top of that chain of command. I'm proud to serve in the party with such an incredible president as our leader. I would like to hear an overview of your plan of cooperation with President Trump when, and I stress when, we take back the Blaine House in 2026.
I like the sound of that. We will take back the Blaine House, and look at the candidates that we have here. One of the things that I guess I want to say, first of all, is that President Trump has run for president 3 times, and I want every single person in this room to know that I stood up in front of caucuses every single time through thick and thin and said, we need to follow this man. And here's why we need to follow him. President Trump knows God, and he thinks better than a lot of people that I know. He has an unbelievable, an uncanny knack for making people look really bad when they have bad ideas, and himself looking really good when he has good ideas. I'm probably best equipped to work with him because I understand education. I've worked in economic development. I've helped bring jobs to this state, and especially have trained labor in this state. I started as a machinist for GTE Sylvania, and I'll never forget the importance of learning about efficiency and economies of scale. And I will take that back to President Trump. We'll talk about a lot of things, including the Federal Reserve System. I think you heard me say that. And then I'm out of time. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I look forward to that. I love so many of his policies, and I'm going to save us some time on this one. The reality is we need to make common sense common again.
This is Trump-aligned policies, that's the question? Yeah. I've got so much that I'm excited about with this administration. particularly in the area of healthcare. So Medicaid is designed to be a claims-based thing where you get in the city and you go to the hospital. Maine is a rural state. It doesn't make any sense. This administration would be happy to give us our Medicaid money as a block grant to spend our own way, the way we see fit, using a different delivery system, using community paramedicine and as I've said before. This guy will give it to us. He's happy to do it. He doesn't feel the need to control how everything's done because his little PhD sippers, want to control it. This is what I love about it, and I'm very excited about the ability to get that money into Maine. Same thing with transportation. Big, dumb, empty buses going around with 3 people on them with our federal dollars. It's such a waste of money. We could be digging out Eastport and bringing ships from all over the world with the same money.
Well, Trump. I was Trump before Trump was fashionable here in the state of Maine. I supported him before he came down the escalator. I supported him when he came down the escalator. I've been 100%. I created Making Maine Great Again. It was a super PAC. The only super PAC ever created for president here in the state of Maine, called Making Maine Great Again. And we came 22,000 votes away from turning our state red. We can do it again. We will do it again with the help of everybody in this room. So when you look at me, you're looking at a guy that is 100% Trump. I'm in the same business as him. I used to build high-rises, malls, shopping centers. I understand the animal. He's my kind of guy. He gets it done. And you know what? We all want to get it done. And if we work with the federal government, we work with President Trump, this is going to be a much, much, much better state. I will commit 100% to work with President Trump on all his policies that positively affect the state of Maine.
I wish I could start today, because I think working with the Trump administration, we can create at least 10,000 high-paying jobs in the state of Maine. The biggest national security concern in the United States right now is boat building capacity. Maine is known for building boats, both in Bass Iron Works. Portsmouth Naval Shipyard is technically in Kittery, so in Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, and we have the tradespeople and we have everyone. There's going to be a bunch of investment there. We need to capitalize on that and work with the Trump administration to create jobs there. AI dominance, artificial intelligence dominance, that's a major platform of the Trump administration. That's a change that's happening in our society. If we don't jump in and make sure that we have the economy of that future, we're going to be left behind and let the last generation, like China did to us before, chips to us now. So we need to work with the Trump administration there. Energy and nuclear, they're clearing the way for permitting there. That's the place to work with the Trump administration. And finally, with the Arctic melting, we are closer to Asia as Los Angeles is. And we are a strategic route, and we can be the center of commerce. And so we can work with Eastport, the Deepwater Port, to be a place where the commerce is for the center for the future of the United States.
So I love President Trump. I've been in his White House 6 times. I've written 500 articles for him. He's tweeted a bunch of them out. I am totally on side with what he's doing without apology. 6 things we could immediately work with him on. Let's enforce Title IX. How about that? Then let's get those high-intensity drug trafficking dollars up here and the substance abuse dollars up here. Then let's use his workfare policy so you don't get benefits if you're able-bodied unless you work or volunteer or go to school. Then we end the wind and solar. We don't keep pushing that. Of course, we work for the nuclear. And then we close the northern border, and we push more Navy contracts to BIW.
I just want to clarify that suing Trump 25 times on taxpayer dollars is not cooperation. Just to be sure. I mean, he's doing a great job, right? The economy's moving again. He's improving education. He's improved America's standing in the world. He's freeing hostages, stopping wars. So you don't need much of a plan. I think all of us here are pretty aligned with all the fundamental values of what he's doing. If he didn't do what he was doing, we'd be in a hell of a mess. So I think the only thing as a governor that you may need to have discussions about occasionally, he's doing such a good job stopping spending, wasteful spending, that if something does affect the state that's negative, a Republican governor can go have a much better conversation with a Republican president than the way the Mills administration is doing it now. But otherwise, I think it's nothing but up from here. We get it.
Ken Capron. You have to be an idiot not to support everything that Trump does, because if you don't support Trump, you're at risk of being taken to court or ignored or completely devoid of funds. It just makes logical sense to support what Trump is trying to do. I don't understand everything he's trying to do. I don't understand the tariffs. I've taken economics, and I'm sure Jim has too. Some things just don't make sense, but if you wait long enough, suddenly it clicks, like what's happened over in Israel. I'm still not sure I understand how the heck he accomplished something like that, but it sure is nice to be on his side and have him working for our country and our party. So I'll stop it there, but it's amazing.
This is going to be our last question of the night. It's actually my favorite question that came in from a committee. Does faith in God play a role in how you will lead the people of Maine? How and why, or why not?
Can you repeat that?
Does faith in God play a role in how you will lead the people of Maine? How and why, or why not?
Absolutely, because what you see is what you get, and when I'm governor, I've lived my life with faith. I've been a believer my entire life since I was 3, and that's how I run my campaign. That's how I've run my job as I've been a leader in business. It absolutely, and I guess to me personally, faith in God also is fundamental to my integrity and who I am. And so 100% faith in God every day, all day. Doesn't change whether you're governor or whether you're stocking shelves at Walmart.
Okay, well, for me personally, I think I need Jesus' story to help with governing, because Jesus gave us the story of falling, of failing, that we can never be everything. We can never compel others to be everything. We each every day aspire to be what God gave us the possibility of being, and we fail every day. One of the things Republicans need to be careful about is trying to inflict the magic of Jesus' story on others. Jesus wouldn't have us do that. Jesus would have us look inward, try like heck, fail, get up, and try again. And I think that's the kind of governance that we need in Maine.
My mic, there we go. I was raised Catholic. I was an altar boy, took my communion, my confirmation, got married. Life has been really good to me. And each day, you know, as I get up and I start moving around, I, think, well, did I do the right thing yesterday? And am I going to do the right thing today? And so, I've been blessed for whatever reason. I've been very blessed with what I have. And a couple of months ago, I got to meet Charlie Kirk, and that really was I don't know what happened that day, but we had dinner, and my wife, she got to meet Charlie, and I'll tell you, he invited me to Aspen. I spent the weekend with him. All the people, it's all Jesus-based. He's invigorated the youth of our world. It's not just in the Maine thing, or United States, it's all over the world. So I'm saying that without Jesus, we wouldn't be here today. and we need to make sure that the lessons that are in the Bible, we read them, and we go down that path. And as governor, I would make sure I do that.
My wife, Oliver and Theodore, go to church every week at the Rock Church in Scarborough, Maine. I spend time in prayer most days, though I do miss some, and hopefully God will forgive me and Jesus will forgive me for that. Two verses that I reflect on regularly about my leadership that I can bring to this governor's race are Galatians 6:9 and Matthew 20:26. Galatians 6:9 is the verse about not growing weary and doing good work, for it's the proper time we'll reap the harvest if we don't give up. And I think that's the spirit we need in this race. Matthew 20:26 is whoever wants to become great among you, you must be your servant. So servant leadership is really important to me and service to others, and that's one of the reasons why I jumped into the governor's race.
I honor the faith expressed by everybody up here. As you may or may not know, Jesus Christ is my Savior. He has saved my life many times, in many places. Faith is central to my life and the life of my family. I can think of three ways right off. First of all, beyond modeling that faith every day as a governor. The first is we will never have mandates again that shut down people of faith. I will sign the bill, and I think Reagan Paul introduced it, that shuts off emergency powers for a governor indefinitely. You can go 30, 60, 90 days, and then the legislature has to re-up it. So I will do that. Number two, we will respect Christian schools and faith in our schools. And number three, I am unapologetically pro-life. Unapologetically. We will roll back the extreme late-term abortions because 67% of Mainers agree with that, and 81% of the country agrees with that, and there will be no taxpayer-funded abortions. So, there you go.
That's a good question, and it's a really personal question too. I mean, depending how you look at your faith. I'm one of those guys who, during a very bad time, just said, hey, look, if you can get me out of here, then I'm in. And then it happened, and I was in, and I've never missed a night of prayer since. That's just the way it works. And for Sonia and I, faith is centered around our life and our children and our family. And I'd prove it to you, but you probably wouldn't want to see it. I got a big tattoo of a cross right down my right arm, and it keeps it as close to me as I can. And faith guides your values. It guides your decisions to doing what's right. And I think when you're in government, it's your obligation to make sure you do right and do good for the most amount of people, and that's what it would do for me.
So this has a personal note for me. Both of my sons are Baptist ministers. And they did that all on their own. They didn't need mom's money or dad's money or anybody else's money. They worked their ass off and earned their way through school and got their degree in divinity. So that impacts my judgment, even though I may not be the most faithful person in the world. But one of the things I've held true for a long time is what I grew up with in the Congregational Church was a set of values that was imposed upon people by the Sunday school. And whatever happened to churches who had helped people who were in need? We've gone from a religion-based need provider to a government now provides all those services. Why? Because somebody was biased about putting government a little bit too close to religion. And I'll stop there, but we need to get churches back into the fold.
I want to tell Ben that I think Jelly Roll sings a song similar to the story that you just told, and if Jelly Roll can find faith, we all can. So the most important thing I've ever done in my life was every single day, my son, daughter, and my wife and I get together and we say 7 prayers. in addition to the ones that we say when we eat. And I think that modeling is really important because I feel like there might be some generational erosion of faith and values, right? And so if we in this room don't model to the next generation, they lose a little and then they lose a little. So the most important thing I've ever done is do that with my children. I was a Congregationalist and my wife is a Catholic. And so we decided we were going to raise them as Catholics. It turned out to be a great decision. We make it a central part of their life. And I feel like it's the reason that my two children have been so incredibly successful. I'm just so proud of them.
All right, that ends the questioning part here. We're going to go with our final statements, and we're going to start with Owen McCarthy.
Maine's leadership is stuck in the 20th century, still insisting that 1960s solutions will solve our problems if we give it more money and we give it more time. Newsflash, it won't work. The old way of thinking has given us some of the highest tax rates in the country to fund exploding state spending. Then they look at us frustrated taxpayers and say, we're the ones that need to tighten our belts. I keep telling people, it's not Augusta's money, it's not the politician's money, it's your money, and we have to spend it that way. It gave us an education system that costs more and more and more and delivers less and less and less while focusing on the latest social fad, and our test scores go down. It gives us endless red tape and then wonders why our housing costs so much. It's time for something very different. I am a political outsider, and I'm a new face for most of you. I'm also an entrepreneur and an engineer, and people like me focus on solving problems and thinking outside the box. I've worked in our heritage industries and built disruptive tech companies. I can talk to you about software or sawmills, and I can lead us into the future of prosperity. I don't have a famous last name, and I've never worked in government, and if you want that, that is not me. But if you want fresh ideas and a focus on the future, and you need them now and not in 8 years, give me a good and hard look. We need to reimagine our state, not just as vacation land for the wealthy, but as a place where people can live, work, and prosper in the new and different economy of the future. A place where whether you grew up in a double wide on the outskirts of Portland or a trailer off a dirt road in Patton, you can use your God-given talents to reach your highest potential with nothing, especially not your state government standing in your way. Thank you very much. I'm going with Owen.
Well, I started this night saying that I would tell you what I am, and I'll tell you what I am. I'm a guy that started his business as a kid, worked his way through life, fought, scraped, scratched, learned the trades, built homes, and then, life happened. I got married. I've been married for 40 years. I have 6 children. I have 8 grandchildren. It's amazing, amazing life. And I've been here in the state of Maine now. For 28 years, I've invested into everything. 40 years as a part-time resident, but 28 years I've been here every single day, doing what I do to make sure the conservative movement moves forward. I sued the governor over ranked choice voting. I sued the governor over COVID when she violated our rights. I formed the Making Maine Great Again Super PAC. I was picked by President Trump to be on the National Republican Platform Committee. I was a delegate in 16. I was a delegate in 24. I had spent 20 years on radio preaching to people to get off their couch and vote, because that is the most precious thing we have. We have to vote. If we don't vote, we lose. We lose, it's over. This is a breaking point. You need a governor who's got the gumption, got the fire in his belly, willing to commit the time and get the job done that we all know needs to be done. And I'm that guy. David Jones works tirelessly. My daughter one time said to me, she said, Dad, somebody said you were lazy. And I looked at her and said, do you have any idea who my father is? No way in hell. Tonight with us is a great friend of mine, Rick Savage. He took that fight to the State House when Governor Mills destroyed his life. He's standing here, and we should all give him a standing ovation, because that man stood the test of time. He's an absolute legend over in this area because he said no and gave her cell phone out on Tucker Carlson's TV show. So Rick, if you don't mind standing up for 1 second. I'm going to wrap it up with that and say this. As governor, things like that will never happen under my watch. I am a pit bull, an absolute pit bull hanging from the backyard by the tire. I won't let go, and I promise you, you'd like me to do the job, I will get the job done. David Jones for governor.
There are great guys running for governor here. We are lucky to live in a state that has people like this that want to serve. Look how toxic it gets in other states. So, I guess I should just try to focus on the few things where I'm the only guy. There's a few things where I'm the only one. I'm the only guy who's brought 1,000 jobs here. I had the faith in this place and the imagination and the sales grit to set up 1,000 jobs and keep working on them until they turned into careers. I built a playbook on how to turn a tired town into an economic bustler. And I want to see that happen in every tired town in this state. I'm the only disruptive innovator. I'm the only guy who's taken on a highly regulated, messy space and made it livable. I've used technology and sales and cajoling, and I've made a dent in an impossible problem. I'm the only person here who's faced cancel culture and lived to tell the tale. I've been wiped out by every means available for fancy Wall Street cynics, and I'm right here smiling and having a great time. And if you think maybe when we get going that powerful folks will reach for every lever that they can to wipe out and reverse the change that we want to make, then consider someone who's faced that before. I can't wait to get through this primary, because I can't wait to win this election, because I can't wait to get our legislature on our side, because Maine is marvelous. Maine deserves lower taxes. Maine deserves an audit of its administration. Maine deserves to be the best place in America to build a house and the best place in America to have a business. Maine deserves to be safe. Thanks for coming.
I believe Mainers have an obvious choice tonight. Do we continue to send our hard-earned dollars to a bloated Augusta bureaucracy, or do we finally demand accountability, lower taxes, and a government that respects the people who pay the bills? It's our money. Do we continue to let children die on our watch, or do we hold our DHHS accountable and address the root cause of the problems? Do we continue to let our schools drift further away from the basics? Or do we restore reading, math, science, and history, and give parents control over their children's future? Do we continue to watch as families and businesses struggle and leave the state because of Augusta's red tape and bureaucracy? Or and they're thrown away, or do we unleash Maine's own potential and make Maine affordable again? Do we accept soft on crime policies that let drugs and violence spread, or do we stand with law enforcement, protect our communities, and keep Maine safe? I will fight for the second path, the path of freedom, the path of government accountability, and the path of opportunity for Mainers. Maine needs a political outsider, a leader that brings an outside perspective to all these problems and is willing to consider solutions that are not found inside the box. I am that leader. And let me leave you with this. I will put Maine first. I will put Maine's families first. That's the future we can build. Thank you for considering me as governor, and check out voterobertwessels.com. I'm going with Robert. Oh, it just doesn't work, does it?
Okay, well, this evening I'm asking every single one of you for your vote, and I never really like talking about myself, so that's the toughest thing. Is in the closing, I want to explain to you why I think I'm qualified for such an incredible job. The first is that I'll never forget the day that I was in a room with the Board of Trustees at the college that I work at, and one of the trustees that was the co-chair said to me, if it wasn't for the $4 million that you just brought in, we wouldn't be making money this semester, this year. And I had created a graduate program from scratch, and it was an on-campus grad program that we didn't have, and I had also expanded the online program. So I haven't just been a teacher, I've been designing our curriculum, and I've also been bringing in money, and it's really, it's an important piece. I mean, I also just want to say, you know, who else has been the chair of the Maine Labor Relations Board? Who else has been a trustee on the Maine Community College system? Who else started the Jobs for Maine's Graduates program that's in more than 100 schools? I started that. I was a co-author, and I was in the inaugural trustee. Who else has been a basketball coach for women and have taken them all the way into the Civic Center? I have, and I can tell you this, I've got a daughter as well. It'll be a cold day in hell before we let men play in women's sports in this state. Who else has been in every single war room over the last 30 years when it comes to political and public policy decisions? Who's worked with so many governors I've forgotten? Who is the person that stands in front of the press conference and speaks on behalf of the Republican Party? Well, maybe Trey Stewart over there, because he does one heck of a job. And we've got some other Republicans in this room, but I just want you to know I'm trained, rested, and ready, and I'm not quite as tan as some members, I'm not going to speak, I'm not quite as tan as some people up at this, but I'm ready. Thank you so much.
You know that tan costs us so much in extra energy that it's run up prices. You know, this is a critical time in our campaigns. Campaigns, it's a two-word. You got to be in the right camp, and you got to deal with a lot of pain. And there is a lot of pain had. All of us in January through March 15th are going to need to collect 2,000 signatures. So keep that in mind and keep an eye open, because we want to put something together so we can make that a simpler process rather than going door to door and risk encountering a rifle. You know, that we've learned our lesson from Charlie Kirk. We can't just take it for granted that we're safe. We also, as a group, are faced with one huge issue. It's called ranked choice voting. We can spend all kinds of money on a campaign against each other, but come that voting day, ranked choice voting is going to screw that up. And that's hard to digest as a candidate with or without money. So we don't have an answer for that yet, but maybe we should find some way to get past that barrier. I also want to point out that I have had the experience as a Doge, and I would be happy to be the Doge for any of these other 7 gentlemen here. I like uncovering mysteries, and because I've got a real weird background in different things. My first job out of high school was as an orderly on nights at Maine Med. I used to have to take the bodies to the morgue. So I have some stories to tell. But aside from being an orderly, I was also an administrator in healthcare, and there are some things that you folks don't know yet, and I know the legislature hasn't come across this yet. But one last thing, we need to bring young people to Maine. If there's no other issue, we need to bring young people to Maine. And I've got an idea from a former Maine economist that I will put in place as soon as I become governor. And I won't mind working with these guys. So they're just great bunch of guys.
Okay, so first I want to thank the GOP, the moderators, all of you for being here tonight. It's been a long one, so thank you very much. I guess what I would say is I've seen both sides, having nothing and having a great deal of success. That's the electricity issue you have. And I know all the stages in between, right? It's literally shaped my perspective on a lot of things, and I think it's allowed me to see things from a different angle than a lot of other people in the race. So creating jobs and getting people from here to here is literally what I do. I created over 15,000 jobs, and I know what works. My biggest concern right now is the opportunity for the American dream for people in Maine. It's slipping away from far too many people, not just our kids, but future generations now, because things are so bad. And Maine people have grit, they have ingenuity. They're some of the hardest working people on earth. Somebody paid the bill, right? And they don't want things just given to them, but they do want the opportunity. And I'm here to bring that back. That's what my purpose is. My company's sold now. I'm 100% focused on this. My team is fantastic. I wish I could name all of them individually, but I don't have time. And we are 100% focused on winning the general election. Because just getting out of this with a nominee and all this work we're going to do is not going to get it there. Things are too critical right now. We have to win this one. Also, my level of business experience aligns very well with running the government. You've got 14,000 employees, a lot of departments, there's a lot of services that people rely on. They expect them to be efficiently and effectively executed. And with that comes complexity. And when you have my background, things that may seem complex to others will not be complex to me. So I can spend more of my time focusing on the big issues that we're talking about and making sure we get Maine on the right track. So I hope to earn your support over the next year, and I want to wish all of my fellow candidates the best of luck.
This is a great group, and I think I'll just speak from the heart here. I grew up in the woods and always was taught to step up, because the values that many of us in this room were trained with were World War II era values. Those are the people that grew us up. It's the people that grew up a lot of folks on this panel here. In that concept of always stepping up, I was always a Republican. I've been a registered Republican since I was 18. And actually, before I even knew what the word was, I was an NRA Safe Hunter at 11 and an Eagle Scout at 13, and I love the woods. And then I got away from Maine, and I got an education, and I worked, and Ben talks about complexity, very important point. I ran a $2 billion operation that was complex, and we increased operational readiness, et cetera, et cetera. The bottom line is Maine is truly, truly in peril. And I think I would just end by saying that old Reagan question, ask yourself, are you any better than you were 7 years ago? Absolutely not. We are all worse off. Look at your property taxes. Look at the drug issue, 10,000 overdoses. Look at the disastrous education policy. I think at the end of the day, I think God puts us where we are meant to be. And I feel as though my life has vectored me to this. I've run big business, I've run big budgets, but more importantly, I know how to take down the bureaucracy and fix this state. And in the end, if we do not fix this state now, this state will not be this state by the time the next governor's done. So someone on this panel has to win, and then has to win the general, and every one of us has to get out there and fight like it really mattered. At the end of the day, I think you have to teach kids, and we have to teach those around us, that if we're going to fix this, it's on us. You envision what you want to see, a Republican legislature, Republican governor, constitutional officers. You believe we can do it. I believe we can do it. And then you fight with all you've got. Fight, fight, fight. You work and work until you get it done. So it is on us right now to get this done. And I am stepping up again because that's what Republicans do.
That's the last question tonight. Thank you, gentlemen, all very much. We're going to ask Alicia to come up. We're going to do the 50-50. It's going to be very quick, and then let everybody go. Alicia?
I have a proxy.
You have a proxy, okay. Am I drawing the ticket?
Yes. Would you?
I will draw the ticket.
Why would you draw the ticket?
So, go ahead.
Okay. This really concludes the night. I want to thank you all for attending tonight. And I wish to personally thank all our candidates sitting here before you, a fantastic group, for participating and your willingness to step forward and lead Maine back to prosperity. I wish to invite all the candidates to attend the Maine GOP's Unity Breakfast in Augusta, Saturday, June 13, 2026, where we will all come together and rally around the Republican candidate for governor of Maine. Please take the time, if possible, to donate to the Maine GOP. There's a QR code and a sign in the back. And please feel free to mingle with the candidates as we close down tonight. And if you could pull that lucky number.
The winner